If you're hitting a wall, if you feel stuck in that, that loop of knowing exactly what you should be doing, but that gravitational pull of comfort just wins out every single day, then you need to listen closely. Maybe you're wrestling with that deep-seated fear of failure, or maybe it's just, I don't know, pure demoralizing laziness.
Right.
Today, we're not offering some temporary pep talk.
Right.
This isn't motivational fluff designed to make you feel warm and fuzzy for 10 minutes.
No.
We're here for a necessary confrontation, a serious, intensive deep dive into what we are calling the Manual for Self-Mastery. It's a blueprint written to strip away every comforting lie and just eliminate every single excuse that's been holding you captive.
That's it.
This is the wake-up call you deserve if you are genuinely serious about changing your path.
That is the precise mission. We're analyzing the ultimate guide to success, but we're focusing really exclusively on the raw, often uncomfortable truths in the material.
The hard truths.
The hard truths. This guide makes one thing brutally clear right from the start. If you're waiting for a savior, or for the stars to align, or for someone to just grant you permission to start building your life,
You're waiting for nothing.
you're waiting for nothing. The foundational, unshakable truth is this: nobody is coming to save you.
That's a harsh way to start, but it perfectly sets the stage for the book's whole philosophy. It just immediately shifts the responsibility, and with it, the power entirely onto you.
It absolutely does. The manual argues that every desired future, every goal, every ounce of peace, every achievement, it all depends on one single thing:
And what's that?
how thoroughly and relentlessly you are willing to focus on mastering yourself. That means operating without distractions, without excuses, and definitely without waiting for external validation.
Right.
This whole journey is about forging a self that is so robust, so mentally tough, that rejection and setbacks,
Right.
they just become momentary bumps in the road. They're not catastrophic roadblocks.
And the world rewards that.
The world, as the guide reminds us, only truly rewards those who master themselves. Not those who blame their circumstances, and certainly not those who are just standing still, waiting for the world to notice them.
So we're diving deep into the infrastructure of that toughness. We're talking about total ownership, relentless consistency, and the absolute necessity of identifying and eliminating every weakness that's keeping you tethered to your old habits.
Exactly. This isn't about some glamorous strategy.
No.
This is about the ugly, the boring, the exhausting foundational work.
We're analyzing the mindset that separates genuine achievement from, just perpetual aspiration. So let's unpack the hard truths that build this unbreakable foundation.
Let's do it. Hashtag 1.1, the compounding power of daily commitment. So first chapter, it just lays down a non-negotiable law. And it's that growth. It's not an optional hobby. It's a fundamental requirement of existence.
A requirement. I like that framing.
Yeah, and the source states it explicitly. I find this formulation incredibly powerful. It says, if you are not getting stronger, you are getting weaker. If you are not moving forward, you are falling behind. There is no standing still in this life.
Wow. There's no neutral.
There is no neutral gear. And, this isn't just motivational fluff. This is like a scientific observation of how things work.
I appreciate that framing because it just eliminates that illusion of stasis.
Yeah.
I so often think, if I just maintain where I am, I'll be fine.
Right.
But if the world, your competition, or even just biological decay is advancing,
Right.
then standing still is functionally the same as moving backward.
Precisely. And this leads directly into the devastating cost of inaction. It's not just that you failed to make progress today. It's the compounding effect that absolutely decimates most people's potential.
Explain that. The compounding effect of doing nothing.
Well, think about the compounding interest on a high-interest credit card, right? That debt grows so fast, even if you just maintain the balance. Inaction works the same way against your future self.
So every day wasted.
It compounds against you. You're either actively investing time and energy into building the life you want, using that principle of compound returns, or you're allowing the inertia of comfort to pull you further and further into a life dictated by drift and regret.
I think we need to give some real weight to this concept. Compounding inaction. It's not just about watching TV instead of working out one day.
No, it's smaller than that.
It's the small daily slippages, right? Maybe letting your inbox pile up, or putting off a difficult conversation, or choosing the easy meal over preparing a healthy one. Those aren't isolated incidents.
That's the subtlety the manual really highlights. True failure. It rarely results from one catastrophic decision.
Right.
It's the sum of 1,000 tiny betrayals of self-commitment, 1,000 tiny promises you broke to yourself.
So to counteract that, the source demands discipline over desire.
Discipline over fleeting desire. Yes. The daily commitment to improvement, the text argues, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. The commitment to being stronger, wiser, and more disciplined than you were the day before. The manual is so direct. It says, you must decide that you are going to work harder on yourself than you do on anything else, whether you feel like it or not.
Motivation is irrelevant.
It's completely irrelevant. Discipline is the engine.
And this is where that idea of strength in the invisible becomes so vital. Because if we're talking about building ourselves, we have to recognize that the most critical foundation-setting work happens when the results are absolutely nowhere to be seen.
Yes.
It's easy to commit when you see immediate results, or when a deadline is breathing down your neck, or when someone's clapping for you.
That's the test. The strength in the invisible is the whole test. The real work is happening when you're sitting alone, putting in the deliberate practice, reviewing the difficult material, or enduring the physical discomfort of training, and there is no external reward signal at all. The source emphasizes that, especially when you are tired or discouraged. That is, when you are laying the foundation for an undeniable future. The core message is this: strength is built in the silence. Strength is built in the struggle.
So if you only work when it feels easy, when the path is clear.
You're building on sand. The first major stressor, the first big storm, will knock it all down.
I think that distinction needs to be heard again. The consistency of daily unseen effort is the secret weapon. It's not about finding the perfect hack.
No.
It's about refusing to skip the foundational steps. The compounding return of disciplined daily action, even a small action, over a long period. That's what produces the 1% result. The manual isn't saying you have to run a marathon every day.
Not at all.
But you must run the mile, even when it feels pointless. Hashtag 1.2, taking total ownership and killing blame.
So if daily commitment is the investment strategy, then total ownership is. It's the asset base. This section of the guide presents ownership as the cornerstone, and it starts by confronting the seduction of blame.
It's so seductive.
It is. Blame, the text argues, is easy. It's an instant emotional relief valve. It allows you to externalize failure, right? Believing your situation is the fault of your boss, the economy, your family, the environment.
And that's the hard truth we need to unpack. The immediate emotional comfort of blame comes at a massive long-term cost. And that cost is the surrender of control.
Yes.
Now, I want to challenge the source on this for a second, because life is objectively unfair. Some people are born with massive disadvantages.
Yeah.
So how can the manual demand total ownership when the playing field was never level to begin with?
That is the critical question, isn't it? And the manual it's ruthless in its response. It defines what it calls the crossroads of control.
Okay.
When you blame others or your circumstances, you are functionally giving away your ability to fix your life. As long as the problem resides outside of you, outside of your sphere of influence, you are powerless to change the outcome.
So you're a victim.
You're a victim. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a victim and start acting like the leader of your own life, that is the shift. Ownership is taking full responsibility for your decisions, your habits, your mindset, and your outcomes, regardless of how they originated.
So the power shift is psychological. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? And you start asking, okay, what am I going to do about it starting right now?
Exactly. That's the shift. It means mistakes aren't permanent condemnations. They're just data points. Obstacles aren't stop signs. They are lessons. They're tools. They're necessary friction for building strength.
So it's about reframing.
It's a total reframe. The text is incredibly pragmatic here. It says, it does not matter how unfair your starting point was. What matters now is what you decide to do with it. You can't rewind the past, but you can right now shape your future by turning every disadvantage, every pain point into a leverage point for strength.
Let's emphasize that crucial distinction the source makes, because I think it's easy to misunderstand ownership as accepting fault.
Yes, that's a huge point. The distinction between responsibility versus fault.
Right.
Imagine a builder who inherits a fundamentally unstable foundation. It wasn't their fault the foundation was poured wrong.
No.
But it is 100% their responsibility to halt construction, tear up that flawed base, and rebuild it correctly before the new structure collapses.
Okay, so it might not have been your fault that you were knocked down?
But it is your responsibility to get back up. It might not be your fault that the starting line was further back for you, but it is your responsibility to decide to run faster.
That realization, when you really internalize it, it's freedom. gets power because it forces you into action. You let go of the idea that someone else, a parent, a mentor, the government, is going to arrive and make your life better.
The straightest people stopped blaming a long time ago. They recognized that every minute spent justifying their current state is a minute they could have spent building a better one.
Total ownership is the price of self-mastery.
It is. It's painful to acknowledge, especially in moments of great loss or unfairness. But by accepting the full weight of responsibility, you claim the full weight of power over your future. Hashtag 2.1, the inconsistency trap.
Okay, so we've got the foundation, total ownership. Now we move to the structure, which the manual identifies as the most common point of failure for most people.
Inconsistency.
Inconsistency. The source material argues that most people miss their dreams, not because they lack potential, but because they lack follow-through.
That's the inconsistency trap right there. It's the gap you see between massive potential and just mediocre results. These are the people who have tremendous starts. They buy the program, they're all fired up on Monday, they put in 2 days of incredible work.
And by Friday, they're gone.
They're gone. They commit only when it's convenient, or when it feels inspiring, or when the mood is right.
And this isn't just a failure to achieve a goal, it's a direct assault on your internal psychological infrastructure. You can't build an unbreakable self if you're constantly proving to yourself that you are unreliable.
That's so important.
The manual stresses that showing up daily, even when the work is slow or boring or painful, builds a kind of self-respect that is non-negotiable.
This is how you build self-trust. We're always looking for external validation to tell us we're good enough, right?
Yeah.
But when you become the person who follows through on your promises to yourself, when you say, I am going to work on this difficult task for 90 minutes, and you actually do it every single day, you eliminate the need for external praise.
Because you proved it to yourself.
You prove through relentless action that you are enough. You become fundamentally reliable, not just to the outside world, but to your own inner compass. And that self-respect is a powerful, self-sustaining motivator.
The source material focuses heavily on what it calls the days that matter most. These are the days that truly define whether you are a dreamer or a doer.
Absolutely. We're talking about the critical days, the days when you wake up and the bed feels infinitely heavy, the days when excuses are screaming in your ear, when you're sick, when you're overwhelmed.
Or when the finish line just feels impossibly far away.
Those are the days. Those are the days that separate the committed from the casual. The manual insists that your future must matter more than your temporary, fleeting feelings.
So if motivation is gone, discipline has to step into the void.
It has to.
It's the decision to override that emotional default setting of comfort.
Let's consider a hypothetical. Someone wants to learn a complicated new skill. It requires 3 hours of focused practice every day. An inconsistent person. They do 6 hours on Tuesday when they feel great, 0 on Wednesday because they're tired, maybe 1 on Thursday.
And that up and down creates cognitive dissonance and guilt, which makes the next day even harder to start.
Right.
The consistent person, however, they lock in the 3 hours. Even if on Thursday they only manage 2 hours of mediocre effort because they felt terrible. The second person wins in the long run.
Why?
Because they maintain the habit. They protect that self-trust. And they avoid the massive energy cost of restarting their commitment every 48 hours.
Inconsistency is a trap. It's a psychological trap that allows you to break promises to yourself, systematically eroding the very belief system you need for long-term ambition. The winners in life, the source concludes, are simply the ones who kept showing up after everyone else got tired and quit. Hashtag 2.2, pushing past the quitting point.
Every worthwhile pursuit hits that moment. That moment of definition when quitting seems overwhelmingly easier than continuing.
It's inevitable.
This is the ultimate gatekeeper, isn't it? It separates those who only dream about their potential from those who actually embody it.
It is unavoidable. The pressure mounts, the discomfort spikes, and your mind starts offering these incredibly rational-sounding reasons to stop.
It's so convincing.
Oh, it is. And this is where the source delivers its harshest directive, which is about comfort. We have to confront the lie of comfort head-on. The manual says, comfort will lie to you.
How does comfort lie? What does that mean?
It lies by offering instant relief in exchange for permanent regression. Comfort seduces you into giving up everything you've worked for, your foundation, your discipline, your vision, just to feel good in the moment.
It's a short-term trade.
It's a terrible trade. Choosing comfort over commitment moves you directly away from the life you deserve. The guide views comfort not as a reward, but as a dangerous temptation that must be constantly guarded against, because the real rewards, the ones on the other side of the process, universally require sustained discomfort.
So when that feeling of wanting to quit hits, Our natural human inclination is to retreat, to lower the standard. But the manual, it just flips the script entirely. It frames that desire to quit not as a stop sign, but as a signal to dig deeper.
It's confirmation. It means you have successfully pushed beyond the point where most people stop. Real growth, whether it's physical, intellectual, or professional, it only happens when you are stretched beyond your current capacity.
So the struggle itself is proof.
The struggle itself is proof of the size of the reward on the other side. You have to train your mind to recognize the wall as a challenge, not a final boundary. The temptation to quit is so loud because you're closer to a breakthrough than you think you are. The breakthrough is almost always just beyond the exhaustion, the doubt, and the pain.
And this brings us to the most practical, actionable technique for forging mental toughness in this chapter, the one more step hack. Can you detail the mechanism behind this?
This technique is all about building a counter habit against that natural inclination to seek the path of least resistance. You have to deliberately, consciously build the habit of pushing yourself one more step beyond where you would normally start.
And why is that so effective?
Because the resistance you feel, that urge to stop, it's a neural signal designed to preserve energy. When you override that signal, even with a tiny additional unit of effort, you are systematically strengthening the psychological muscle of persistence.
Okay, give us 3 concrete examples. 1 physical, 1 mental, and 1 professional. Where does that one more step make the difference?
Sure. Physically, when you're running and you feel that burning desire to slow down or stop, the one more step is running just 1 minute longer, or completing 1 more repetition of a really challenging exercise. Mentally, if you're reading a complicated academic paper and your mind starts to wander, the 1 more step is forcing yourself to highlight and synthesize just 1 more paragraph before you allow yourself a break.
And professionally?
Professionally, if you're making sales calls and you've hit your goal for the day but you feel totally drained, the 1 more step is forcing yourself to make just 1 more valuable strategic outreach call.
And those extra moments, compounded day after day, that's where greatness is born.
They're everything. Those extra moments are where you rise on your own strength and prove to yourself that you are serious about your dreams. Every time you push harder when you feel like quitting, you build something that money cannot buy. Authentic mental toughness and deep emotional resilience.
You're deciding preemptively that difficulty will not be the reason you stopped.
Exactly. You decide that pain will not have the final word. That ability to choose action when your emotions are screaming at you to seek comfort, that is the very definition of self-mastery. Hashtag tag 3.1, training the mind to reject external noise. So, if the first sections were about the architecture of action ownership and consistency, this section is all about energy protection. And we have to establish the gravity of the modern problem. The world, the internet, the media, they are literally engineered to distract you, to steal your focus, and therefore to hijack your future.
Your attention is your most sacred, finite resource.
It is.
And it's shocking how poorly we guard it. We treat our attention like it's infinitely renewable, letting any notification, any piece of sensationalized news, or any external negative voice just barge right into our focus.
And the manual demands that you stand guard at the door of your mind. You have to become fiercely selective about what gets through.
Because if you give your limited attention to everyone and everything that demands it, the never-ending feed, the viral outrage of the day, the pointless chatter,
you'll have nothing left. Nothing left for the complex, deep work required to build your own future. And the source has a very, very harsh take on the role of opinions in this whole noise ecosystem.
the futility of opinion.
Yes, opinions are cheap and the world is full of them.
Right.
Opinions do not build your life, they don't pay your bills, and they do not create your future. Your actions, your focused choices, and your disciplined daily work. That's what does.
The minute you start listening to every opinion, you lose traction.
You lose traction. You start questioning your path, doubting your vision, and shrinking your ambition to fit the expectations of others who haven't even achieved their own goals. It's a massive drain on your cognitive load. You're spending energy processing contradictory external inputs rather than applying focus to your own process.
So the defense against this constant noise is clarity.
Clarity.
Ignoring the noise isn't arrogance. It's a strategic choice for focus. When you have a crystal clear vision of what you're working toward, it becomes instantly easier to spot the noise. If the information or the input doesn't actively push you closer to your established vision, it is noise, and you must become ruthless in its dismissal.
And this ruthlessness leads to this enormous unlooked-for benefit. Freedom through detachment. When you successfully train your mind to reject the noise, you shed the weight of other people's expectations and opinions.
You stop apologizing for wanting more.
You do. You achieve the freedom of no longer needing the world to understand your ambition, and when criticism, especially cheap, uninformed criticism, can no longer define you, this psychological armor allows you to chase your highest potential without being slowed down by borrowed doubts or external confusion. You move faster, you think clearer, and you feel lighter because you're carrying only the weight of your own responsibility.
It sounds like the guide is suggesting that true self-mastery requires a sort of, a healthy, intentional social insulation, at least during the building phase.
Precisely. It's an investment in solitude and focus. The external world can wait. Your future cannot. Hashtag 3.2, becoming ruthless about distractions. Okay, so now we have to distinguish noise from distraction. The manual defines distractions with this profound sense of urgency. It calls them thieves.
Thieves, that's a strong word.
It is. Distractions are thieves that steal time, energy, focus, and critically, your future self. If you are not actively deciding where your energy goes, the world, with all its clickbait and instant gratification, will decide for you.
And the world doesn't care about your dreams.
The world, frankly, does not care about your dreams.
That framing demands a brutal inventory of our time. So the first step to fighting these thieves must be radical honesty. You have to confront the uncomfortable truth of how your time is actually being spent. What are the silent, constant leaks?
You cannot fix what you refuse to face. Where are the hours disappearing? Is it mindless scrolling through social feeds, engaging in gossip and office politics that have zero bearing on your goals?
Or just excessive consumption of entertainment that leaves you feeling energized for 2 minutes and then drained for 2 hours?
Exactly. The guide demands that you track your time, not to judge yourself, but to find the precise entry points of the distraction thieves.
And once you identify the thieves, the next step is environment control. This requires creating a physical and digital environment that makes focus the path of least resistance.
You have to weaponize your environment. This means physical acts. Clearing the clutter from your workspace, removing tempting devices from sight, establishing specific deep work zones.
And digitally?
Digitally, it means ruthlessly turning off non-essential notifications, blocking distracting websites during working hours, and creating friction between you and the temptations.
Making it harder to do the wrong thing.
You cannot expect to achieve world-class results if you are constantly operating in an environment built for interruption and convenience. You have to make it easier to do the right thing and demonstrably harder to do the wrong thing.
But the manual also dives into a more subtle, yet often more fatal type of distraction.
The internal distractions.
This is where self-mastery really begins to separate the committed from the casual.
This is the battlefield of the mind. The outer noise is distracting, but the internal noise. It's often fatal to ambition because it paralyzes action.
What are these internal distractions?
Self-doubt is a massive one. It forces you to relitigate decisions you've already made. Overthinking analysis paralysis, that's a distraction that steals momentum. Worrying excessively about hypothetical future failures or past mistakes, that's a distraction.
Right.
Mastery requires not just blocking the outer noise, but quieting this internal committee of critics and fears.
So when your mind wanders toward fear or doubt, the disciplined response, according to the manual, is to just bring your focus back to the immediate task at hand. You have to be able to internally say, this internal dialogue is not helping me build, and immediately return to the work.
That is the ultimate trade-off this chapter demands. Ruthlessness against distractions requires necessary sacrifices. It means saying no to things others say yes to non-essential conversations, to most parties, to following every frivolous trend.
Yes. You must endure the feeling of missing out. You have to be comfortable being the person who declines the invite, who leaves early, or who doesn't know about the viral topic of the week.
But the guide is clear. The only thing worth chasing, the only thing you could possibly miss out on, is your own potential.
The ultimate battle is always inside your own mind. Can you stay loyal to your work when entertainment is one click away, when distraction is packaged, marketed, and delivered right to your hand? The answer must be a resounding, disciplined no.
High achievement has no secret.
There is only clear focus applied daily, and the brutal, relentless removal of anything that pulls you off course. Cut it out. If it weakens your focus, cut it out. If it steals your time, cut it out. Your future self is waiting, and that self deserves your full, undivided strength. Hashtag SoapyChef 4.1, fighting for the dream when belief is absent. Okay, so we've established the infrastructure. Ownership, consistency, and focus. But what happens when the inevitable exhaustion hits, when doubt creeps in, and, like most painfully, when the people you care about most don't understand or actively discourage you?
We have to acknowledge the loneliness of greatness that the source describes.
It's lonely work.
Fighting for big dreams is, by its very nature, lonely work. People may love you, they may care deeply for your happiness, but they cannot see the fire inside you. They can't understand the unique vision that only you were given to execute.
And because they can't see it.
Because they can't see it, the manual states clearly it is not their job to believe, it is yours. This is a profoundly personal and sacred contract you make with yourself.
This really addresses the resistance we all face, often from those closest to us, family, longtime friends. When they see you change your habits, take bigger risks, and dedicate massive time to an unseen goal, their default reaction is often fear or skepticism.
And we have to understand the motivation behind that. Their resistance is often limited by their own fears, their own unfulfilled potential, and their own desire for the comfort of the status quo. It's not usually malice toward you.
Right.
If they were meant to understand the dream, they would have seen it too, but they didn't. You did. Therefore, their lack of belief is irrelevant to your path. You must become completely impervious to outside opinions when they conflict with your deeply held vision.
And if the external voices are loud, the inner battle, that voice of self-doubt and fear, that can be even louder. How does the manual instruct you to navigate that inner resistance?
By tying all your action to purpose, not to applause. Real fighters, the source explains, are motivated by the fundamental purpose of their vision. They're too focused on laying the bricks of their future to care about temporary approval.
They understand that validation comes after results, not before.
Exactly. When that inner voice of doubt asks, "Who are you to do this?" the answer must be the disciplined action of continuing the work. You fight the inner voice with action, not with argument.
And the struggle itself is what creates the transformation. The dream isn't just about the final achievement. It's about who you become while fighting for it.
Every rejection forces you to sharpen your approach. Every temporary failure teaches you how to fight smarter. Every moment of doubt you overcome is a permanent deposit into your reservoir of grit.
There are no wasted battles.
No wasted battles when you are truly fighting for something real. You earn a toughness and a resilience that cannot be simulated or bought or faked.
So courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward even when fear is screaming at full volume. You're not fighting for attention or external acknowledgement. You're fighting for the integrity of your future self. And you have to be willing to walk alone today to stand undeniably tall tomorrow. Hashtag 4.2, trusting the invisible process.
This is the moment. This is where most people, even those who began with passion and discipline, finally quit.
Why here?
They lack the patience to endure what the guide calls the invisible season. That's the period where maximum effort is being exerted, but the results are distant, delayed, or seemingly non-existent.
And doubt whispers, this isn't working.
It screams it. It's the ultimate test of sustained commitment without immediate feedback. The human mind is hardwired for instant gratification, and when we apply massive effort and see no measurable return, we assume the effort was wasted.
And that assumption is precisely why most people abandon the field too soon.
Exactly. They plant good seeds, they work the soil, but they quit before the harvest because they demand an immediate sprout. Trusting the process means believing in the unseen mechanics of cause and effect. It requires staying consistent even when your feelings tell you the energy is being poured into a black hole.
So patience, in this context, it's not passive waiting.
Not at all. It is active commitment sustained over time.
We need to spend a little time on the analogy the source uses here, the seed analogy, because I think it perfectly captures this necessary patience.
The seed analogy is so powerful because it demystifies the sudden emergence of success. You plant a seed, and for weeks, maybe months, the surface looks exactly the same, but underneath, the critical work is happening. Roots are growing deep, foundations are being laid, and the seed is drawing immense strength from the struggle against the soil.
Right.
The sudden sprout that emerges, the visible success, it's not sudden at all. It is the necessary, inevitable result of everything that happens silently and consistently below the surface, unseen by the casual observer.
And our growth works the same way. You don't see the neurological changes from studying, or the micromuscle gains from lifting, or the systemic improvements in clarity from meditating until one day you look back and realize the output is fundamentally different.
Therefore, you must trust that every disciplined day matters. Progress is not always loud or fast or visible. Sometimes progress is silent, steady, and slow. But it is progress all the same.
Trusting the process means detaching your effort from the need for instant feedback or gratification.
Yes. You cannot rush the fundamental forces of growth, development, or mastery.
And the invisible seasons. They're the training ground for your character.
They are the forge, absolutely. The people who eventually win are those who stayed consistent long after the excitement of the start wore off. They refused to quit during those silent days when they received zero external validation.
They didn't succumb to the fear that their effort was meaningless.
They maintained the profound wisdom that unseen growth is still growth, and unseen victories, the victories over doubt, comfort, and impatience, are still victories that build character. You're working for a permanent internal transformation, not for temporary applause. Hashtag tag 4.3 locking in until you win. So we arrive at the ultimate decision, the final commitment to unbreakable resilience. To achieve this, the guide stresses that your vision must become so visceral, so overwhelmingly powerful, that it's stronger than any passing emotion.
You have to see your future self so clearly that it becomes more real, more magnetic than your current reality.
That's it. And when motivation inevitably fades, which it will, it's loyalty to that pre-established vision that keeps you moving.
That is the definition of being locked in.
Locking in means choosing the vision again and again, even when fatigue makes quitting convenient. It requires supreme discipline saying no to good things, like hanging out with friends or relaxing, so you can say yes to the best things, the things that serve your highest potential.
It means establishing an unshakable stance where temporary pain or boredom or a setback cannot redefine the ultimate objective.
Right, but locking in doesn't mean you avoid failure. The manual dedicates a significant amount of analysis to resilience in Chapter 10, stating that falling is inevitable.
Falling is not failure. Staying down is the failure.
That's the mantra. Life will knock you down. It is a statistical guarantee. Your true strength, the depth of your mastery, is revealed not by how successfully you avoided the fall, but by how many times you were willing to choose to rise again.
The psychological mandate there is fascinating. When you fall, your mind instantly offers two paths. The default path of self-pity and staying down, or the difficult path of standing back up.
The stronger path is always to rise. Every time you rise again, tired, scared, uncertain, maybe bruised and embarrassed, you build a level of grit that cannot be extinguished by disappointment.
You send a powerful message.
A powerful nonverbal message to the world, but more importantly to yourself. And that message is, I am not done. I may be temporarily hurt, but I'm not broken beyond repair. My commitment to my vision is greater than this temporary pain.
So the final commitment is an absolute refusal to let a temporary setback shrink or redefine the vision. You have to lock in, not until you feel tired, not until you get bored, but until you win. You have to burn the idea into your heart that quitting is not an option available to you.
That is the mindset of the master. The sacrifice, the lonely hours, the unseen effort, that is the price. And when you pay it in full, you build a reputation with yourself that says, no matter what happens, no matter how hard I fall, I will find my way back and continue the mission. This unwavering belief, backed by relentless daily action, is the path to the truly unbreakable self.
So we've completed this deep dive into the manual for self-mastery. The transformative path is clear. The shift from blame to total ownership. The discipline to move from distraction and noise to ruthless, protected focus.
And the consistency required to turn wishful thinking into relentless, daily, undeniable action.
It's all there.
And here is the provocative final thought we want you to carry forward, a concept derived from the final pages of the guide.
Okay.
You will look back one day at the moment of your success, and you'll realize that the winning itself, it wasn't even the greatest prize. The real prize was who you became in the process. A person built so fundamentally strong through discipline, sacrifice, and consistency that no setback, no disappointment, no external force can destroy your sense of capability or your peace.
You already possess every single resource you need. You don't require more talent or more time or someone to rescue you. You simply need to commit to yourself at a level of intensity and loyalty you have never before experienced.
Your future life, your future self, and your future peace, they are all contingent upon the fight you are willing to have today.
Do not wait for tomorrow. Do not wait for next week. Motivation is not coming to save you.
You must save yourself through consistency and immediate action. Start today. Stack those invisible wins, defeat those internal distractions, and make your life a masterpiece that reflects the strength it took to keep showing up, even when quitting felt like the only reasonable option. Get up, get locked in, and keep moving.